Sophia, table 6 is waiting. Her manager's voice cut through the bathroom door. She grabbed the edge of the sink, forcing herself to breathe. The Silver Lotus wasn't just any restaurant. It was the most exclusive establishment in the city, where politicians dined with oil tycoons and where, according to whispered rumors, the most dangerous men in the underworld conducted business over 30-year-old scotch. She couldn't afford to lose this job. Not with her mother's medical bills piling up. Not with Derek's threats still ringing in her ears from last night. Coming! Her voice cracked. She adjusted her black button-down shirt, pulling the collar as high as it would go, and stepped back into the dining room. The evening crowd was already thick, a sea of designer suits and glittering jewelry. She moved through it mechanically, smile plastered on, pretending her neck didn't throb with every turn of her head. Table 6. Her notepad felt slippery in her sweating palm as she approached. 3 men sat in the corner booth, but her eyes locked on the one in the middle. He was perhaps in his late 30s, with dark hair swept back from a face that looked like it had been carved from marble by an artist who specialized in fallen angels. Sharp cheekbones, a jaw that could cut glass, and eyes so pale blue they were almost silver. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than her annual salary, and when those ice-chip eyes lifted to meet hers, something electric shot down her spine. Before we continue, please subscribe. My mom says I can't reach 2,000 subscribers, so prove her wrong. Okay, let's get back to it. Good evening, gentlemen. Can I start you with, what happened to your neck? The words came from the man in the middle, cutting through her rehearsed greeting like a blade. Her hand flew to her collar. Nothing. Just clumsy in the shower. What can I get you to drink? Those pale eyes narrowed, studying her with an intensity that made her feel like every lie she'd ever told was written across her forehead. The man to his right, stocky with a scar across his cheek, leaned forward. Boss, should I... Quiet. One word, barely above a whisper, but the scarred man fell silent immediately. The boss. Sophia's stomach dropped. She'd heard the stories, the warnings from other servers. Alessandro Moretti. The name itself was a curse word in certain circles. He owned half the city's real estate, all of its underground gambling, and had fingers in more legitimate businesses than anyone could prove. But it was the other things people whispered about that made her blood run cold. The rivals who disappeared, the betrayals that ended in rivers running red, the absolute terrifying control he wielded over his empire. And she'd just lied to his face. Bourbon. Neat. His eyes never left hers. And you'll come back in 10 minutes so we can talk about how you really got those bruises. It wasn't a request. Her mouth went dry. Of course, right away. She fled to the bar, her heart hammering against her ribs. This was bad. This was catastrophically bad. Men like Alessandro Moretti didn't ask questions out of kindness. They asked because they wanted leverage, ammunition, something to use against you. She thought about calling in sick for the rest of the night, just walking out the back door and never coming back. But then her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. A text from the hospital. Her mother's treatment schedule had been moved up. They needed the payment by Friday. She couldn't run. 10 minutes felt like 10 seconds. She delivered their drinks with shaking hands, ready to deflect, to lie better this time, to sit down. She blinked. I'm working. I can't... Marco. Alessandro nodded at the scarred man, who immediately stood and walked toward the restaurant's manager. She watched in disbelief as money changed hands, as her manager nodded enthusiastically, as Marco returned and gave a small nod. You have 15 minutes. Alessandro gestured to the empty seat beside him. Sit. Her legs folded before her brain could protest. She found herself sliding into the booth, hyper-aware of the heat radiating from his body barely a foot away. What's your name? Sophia. Sophia. He said it like he was tasting wine, rolling it around to examine the flavor. And who put his hands on you? Nobody. I told you, He raised one finger and she fell silent. With his other hand, he reached forward slowly, giving her every opportunity to pull away, and gently tugged down her collar. The air between them went absolutely still. She watched his face transform. The calculated coldness fractured, revealing something underneath that made her breath catch. Rage, pure, distilled fury that turned his eyes from ice to mercury. His name. 2 words spoken so quietly she barely heard them, but they carried the weight of a death sentence. It doesn't matter. It's handled. I'm leaving him. I just need to save enough to... his name. Every instinct screamed at her to stay quiet, to protect Derek despite everything. But she looked into Alessandro's eyes and saw something unexpected. Not just anger. Not excitement at finding weakness to exploit. Something almost protective. "Derek Thornton," she whispered. Alessandro leaned back, his expression smoothing into that dangerous calm again. He pulled out his phone, typed something with quick, precise movements, then set it face down on the table. "You will not go back to wherever you're staying with him tonight. I don't have anywhere else to... You will stay in one of my properties. Marco will drive you to collect anything you can't live without. You will not be alone for this process. Tomorrow you will return to work as normal. Do you understand?" She should refuse. She should run screaming from this booth and this man and whatever dark world he inhabited. But Derek's hands around her throat flashed through her mind. The way he'd smiled while he squeezed. The promise that next time he wouldn't stop. "Why are you helping me?" Something flickered across Alessandro's face, there and gone so fast she might have imagined it. "Because men who put their hands on women in my city will learn there are consequences." "Your city?" The corner of his mouth lifted in something that wasn't quite a smile. "Did you think those stories about me were exaggerations?" Before she could answer, his phone lit up with a message. He glanced at it, nodded once, and stood. "Marco will handle the details. Finish your shift if you'd like, or leave now. Either way, you will not return to Derek Thornton." He was 3 steps away when she found her voice. "What are you going to do to him?" Alessandro turned back, and the look in his eyes made her shiver. "What I do to everyone who damages what's mine." "I'm not yours." "No," he agreed, that almost smile returning. "Not yet." Then he was gone, disappearing into the night like smoke, leaving her alone in the booth with Marco standing at a respectful distance and her entire world tilting on its axis. The penthouse apartment was ridiculous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum, a bathroom with heated floors and a shower that could fit 6 people. Sophia stood in the middle of the living room, clutching the single bag of belongings Marco had allowed her 15 supervised minutes to collect from Derek's apartment, and fought the urge to laugh hysterically. 12 hours ago, she'd been choking on Derek's rage. Now she was standing in what had to be a multi-million-dollar property, under the protection of the city's most dangerous man. Her phone buzzed. "Derek, where are you? Get back here right now, or I swear to God." She blocked the number with shaking hands. The apartment door opened, and she spun around, heart in her throat. But it was just a woman, maybe mid-50s, with kind eyes and graying blonde hair pulled back in a neat bun. "I'm Teresa," she said, her voice carrying a warm Italian accent. "I work for Mr. Moretti. I've brought some things you might need." She set down several shopping bags from expensive boutiques. "Clothes, toiletries, anything I thought you might not have had time to grab." Sophia stared at the bags. "I can't accept—" "You can, and you will, dear. Mr. Moretti was very specific." Teresa moved to the kitchen, beginning to unpack groceries. "He also wanted me to tell you that you're to stay here as long as you need. There's security in the building. No one comes up without clearance." "I don't understand why he's doing this." Teresa paused, her hands stilling on a carton of eggs. "Mr. Moretti has rules. Very specific rules about his city. One of them is that women are not to be harmed. Not on his streets, not in his establishments, and certainly not by men who think their fists make them powerful." She resumed unpacking. "He takes these violations personally. But I'm no one to him. Perhaps. Teresa smiled softly. Or perhaps he sees something you don't yet. Before Sophia could ask what that meant, her phone rang. Unknown number. Answer it, Teresa said calmly. It's safe. She pressed accept. Hello? Sophia. Alessandro's voice was like dark velvet in her ear. Are you settled? Yes, thank you. This is all too much. It's adequate. Teresa will stay with you tonight if you'd like company, or she can leave if you prefer privacy. Tomorrow morning, a car will bring you to my office. We have things to discuss. What things? How thoroughly you'd like me to destroy Derek Thornton. Her breath caught. What does that mean? It means I'm giving you a choice. I can make him disappear in a way that no one ever asks questions. I can destroy his career, his reputation, everything he's built. I can simply ensure he never touches another woman again. Or, he paused, I can do nothing, if that's what you truly want. But Sophia, understand this. He will not come near you again regardless. That decision has already been made. She sank onto the leather sofa, her mind reeling. She thought of Derek's art gallery, the one he'd inherited from his father. The way he schmoozed with wealthy clients, playing the cultured gentleman, while his knuckles still had her blood under them from 2 weeks ago. His career, she heard herself say. Destroy his career? Make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man he really is. Consider it done. There was satisfaction in Alessandro's voice. Sleep well, Sophia. Tomorrow, we discuss your future. He hung up before she could ask what he meant. The offices of Moretti Enterprises occupied the entire top floor of the Greystone Tower, the tallest building in the city. Sophia stepped out of the private elevator, her borrowed designer dress feeling like a costume, and found Alessandro waiting. By daylight, he was somehow even more devastating. The morning sun streaming through the windows turned his pale eyes molten, and when he smiled at her, actually smiled, not that dangerous half-curve, something warm unfurled in her chest. You slept well? He asked, guiding her toward his office with a hand that hovered at the small of her back, without quite touching. Actually, yes, first time in months. Something dark flashed across his face, but it was gone before she could read it. His office was all clean lines and leather, with a view that made her dizzy. He gestured to a chair across from his desk, but instead of sitting behind the desk, he took the chair beside hers. I've had my people looking into Derek Thornton all night. He slid a folder across the table. You weren't his first. Her stomach lurched. She opened the folder with trembling hands. Photos, police reports that had mysteriously disappeared, hospital records. 5 women before her, all with the same story. All too afraid or too silenced to press charges. How did you find all this? I have resources. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. By noon today, these files will be in the hands of every news outlet in the city. His gallery will be empty by evening. His family name, which he's hidden behind his entire life, won't protect him anymore. His father is connected. He'll find a way to. His father is currently on a yacht in the Mediterranean, receiving some very convincing information about what will happen to his entire empire if he interferes. Alessandro's voice was casual, like he was discussing the weather. Derek Thornton will face consequences, Sophia. Real ones. She should be horrified. She should be questioning the morality of using illegal means to achieve justice. But all she felt was relief so profound it made her lightheaded. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. We're not finished. He stood, moving to the windows. The Silver Lotus is one of my restaurants. Did you know that? She nodded slowly. Everyone knew, even if it wasn't official. I don't allow my employees to be harmed. It's bad for business and worse for my reputation. The fact that you came to work with marks on your neck in my establishment, and I didn't know about it immediately? He turned back to her, and there was something dangerous in his eyes again. That's a failure of my system. That's not your fault. It is absolutely my fault, which is why you're no longer working as a server. Her heart plummeted. Please, I need this job. My mother's hospital bills. You're not working as a server because you're going to manage the front of house operations for all 3 of my restaurants. He said it like it was obvious. Salary, benefits, including comprehensive health insurance that will cover your mother's treatments. You'll start Monday. She stared at him. I'm not qualified for... You have a business degree from State University that you couldn't finish because your father died and left debt. You've worked in restaurants since you were 16. You're meticulous, professional, and you understand luxury service. He rattled off her entire history like he'd memorized it. You're more than qualified. The question is whether you're willing to work for me. Why are you doing this? She stood, facing him across the expensive carpet. The apartment, the job, going after Derek. Why? He closed the distance between them in 2 strides. Up close, she could see faint scars on his knuckles, a thin line along his jaw. Evidence of a life lived in violence, yet his eyes on hers were almost gentle. Because when I saw those marks on your neck, something in me broke. His voice was low, intimate. Because I've built an empire on control, on rules, on making sure my city runs exactly as I dictate. And the thought of someone hurting you, in my territory, made me realize that some violations can't be tolerated. You don't even know me. Then let me. He raised his hand slowly, giving her time to move away, and when she didn't, he brushed his fingers along her jaw. Let me know you, Sophia. Let me show you what it's like to be protected instead of afraid. To be valued instead of diminished. She should step back. This man was dangerous in ways Derek could never dream of being. But Derek's danger had been chaotic, unpredictable, designed to make her small. Alessandro's danger felt different, controlled, directed outward, not at her. I'm not interested in being some mob boss's plaything, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. His lips curved into a real smile, and it transformed his entire face. Good, because I'm not interested in playthings. I'm interested in partners, in equals, in women who tell me the truth even when it's difficult. I lied to you last night. You were protecting yourself. That's different from betrayal. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Take the job. Live in the apartment while you get back on your feet. And in the meantime, have dinner with me. Let me court you properly. Court me? She almost laughed. Do mafia bosses court? This one does. He stepped back, giving her space to breathe. I'm not asking you to fall into my bed, Sophia. I'm asking you to give me a chance to prove that not all powerful men use that power to destroy. Some of us use it to protect what we cherish. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and froze. A news alert. Derek Thornton, heir to Thornton Gallery Empire, faces multiple assault allegations. It's already started, she whispered. And it won't stop until he faces everything he's done. Alessandro's voice was iron. You're safe now. That's not negotiable. The rest, the job, dinner, whatever this is between us, that's your choice. She looked at him, really looked, at the man who'd upended her life in less than 24 hours, who'd offered her safety, justice, and opportunity without demanding anything in return, who looked at her like she was precious instead of disposable. Dinner, she heard herself say. One dinner. The smile he gave her could have lit the entire city. 3 weeks later, Sophia stood in the private dining room of the Silver Lotus, reviewing inventory sheets, when her phone exploded with notifications. Derek Thornton arrested on multiple counts of assault. Bail denied. Her hands shook as she read the article. Witness after witness had come forward. The women from Alessandro's files, yes, but others too. The story had cracked open something ugly, and now it was all spilling out. You heard, Alessandro's voice came from behind her. She turned to find him leaning against the doorframe, elegant in a charcoal suit. Over the past 3 weeks, they'd fallen into a rhythm. Business meetings about the restaurants that somehow always turned into long conversations about everything else. Dinners where he told her about growing up in his father's world, learning to be hard when he wanted to be kind. Quiet moments where she'd shared her own story, her father's death, Her mother's illness. The slow degradation of her relationship with Derek. He'd kissed her once, last week after walking her to her apartment door. A soft, questioning kiss that had made her knees weak and her heart race. Then he'd stepped back, said goodnight, and left her wanting more. "I heard," she confirmed. "It's really over. It's really over." He crossed to her, his hands settling on her waist. "How do you feel?" "Like I can breathe for the first time in years." She looked up at him. "Thank you. For all of it." "Sophia." The restaurant's front door crashed open. Voices, angry and loud. Alessandro's expression went cold, and Marco appeared as if summoned, weapon already drawn. "Stay here," Alessandro ordered, but she followed anyway, her heart pounding. In the main dining room, Derek stood swaying on his feet, his expensive suit rumpled, his eyes wild. He'd made bail somehow, and he'd come here. "You!" He pointed at Sophia with a shaking hand. "You did this. You ruined my life, you lying—" "Finish that sentence." Alessandro's voice could have frozen the sun. "Please, I'm begging you to finish that sentence." Derek's eyes swiveled to him, and fear flickered across his face. But rage won out. "You think you're so powerful? You think you can just destroy people? My father will—" "Your father is currently dealing with tax fraud investigations that will likely end with him in prison." Alessandro moved forward slowly, each step deliberate. "The only reason you're not already dead, Derek, is because Sophia asked me to let the law handle you. So, I am. But if you ever, and I mean ever, come near her again, if you even think her name too loudly, I will make you disappear in ways that will make your nightmares seem pleasant." "She's not worth this. She's just some—" Alessandro moved so fast Sophia barely saw it. One moment Derek was standing. The next he was on his knees, Alessandro's hand gripped in his hair, forcing his head back. "Listen very carefully," Alessandro said softly. "That woman is worth more than you could comprehend in 1,000 lifetimes. She is under my protection, which means she is untouchable. You will leave this restaurant, you will leave this city, and you will spend the rest of your miserable existence grateful that I let you keep breathing." He released Derek, who scrambled backward. Marco and 2 other men Sophia recognized as Alessandro's security materialized, hauling Derek to his feet. "Get him out of here," Alessandro ordered. "Make sure his bail is revoked for this little stunt." As Derek was dragged away, still shouting threats, Alessandro turned back to Sophia. His expression shifted immediately, the cold fury melting into concern. "Are you all right?" She was shaking, but not from fear, from adrenaline, from relief, from something else she couldn't quite name. "He can't hurt me anymore." "No." Alessandro cupped her face in his hands. "He can't. No one can. I won't allow it." "Because I work for you? Because you're mine." He said it simply, like it was fact. "If you'll have me. I know what I am, Sophia. I know what I do. I'm not a good man by most people's standards, but I am yours if you want me." She thought about the past 3 weeks, the safety she'd felt for the first time in years, the way he listened when she talked, really listened. How he'd never once tried to control her decisions, only offered her options. The gentleness in his hands despite the violence they were capable of. "I want you," she whispered. "God help me, I want you." He kissed her then, deep and claiming, and she felt the last piece of fear inside her shatter. This was different from anything she'd known. Not the suffocating possession Derek had demanded, but something fiercer. A promise of protection, partnership, and a future where she'd never have to be afraid again. When he pulled back, his eyes were blazing. "I will give you everything. My protection, my resources, my empire, if you want it. And in return, all I ask is that you stay. That you let me spend the rest of my life proving that power can be used to protect instead of destroy." "That's not a small thing you're offering," she said, her hands pressed against his chest, feeling his heartbeat racing as fast as hers. You're not a small thing to me. He brushed his lips against her forehead. You're everything. In the background, sirens wailed as police came to collect Derek. The restaurant would open in an hour, and she had work to do. Her mother's treatment was scheduled for tomorrow, fully covered by her new insurance. The apartment Alessandro had given her was starting to feel like home. And the man in front of her, the dangerous, powerful, ruthless man who'd dismantled her abuser's life and offered her a new one, was looking at her like she hung the moon. "Stay with me tonight," he said. "Not at the apartment. At my home. Let me wake up with you tomorrow and the day after that, and every day you'll allow." She thought of all the reasons she should say no. All the warnings about men like him. All the danger that came with his world. Then she thought of the marks that had faded from her neck, replaced by nothing but smooth skin and safety. "Yes," she said. His smile could have powered the city. 6 months later, Sophia stood in Alessandro's study, their study now, reviewing the quarterly reports for the restaurant group. She'd expanded operations, implemented new training programs, and increased profits by 40%. Alessandro had joked that she was better at running his legitimate businesses than he was. The house was quiet. Alessandro was in a meeting downstairs with his captains, handling business she'd learned not to ask about directly. She understood the separation now. The clean world she managed and the dark world that made it possible. Her phone rang. Her mother. "Hi, Mom. How are you feeling?" "Wonderful, darling. The new treatment is working beautifully. The doctors are very pleased." Her mother's voice was stronger than it had been in years. "Are you still bringing that handsome man of yours to dinner Sunday?" "Wouldn't miss it." Sophia smiled, twisting the promise ring on her finger. Not an engagement ring yet, though Alessandro had hinted. He wanted her to be sure, he said. To know exactly what life with him meant before she committed forever. As if she didn't already know. As if she hadn't fallen completely, irrevocably in love with the man who'd saved her, and then given her the tools to save herself. The study door opened. Alessandro walked in, loosening his tie, and the sight of him still made her heart skip. "How did the meeting go?" she asked. Smoothly. "The Castellano family has agreed to our terms." He crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. "How are the reports?" "We're going to have to open a 4th location." "My brilliant partner." He kissed her neck, right where the bruises used to be. "What did I do to deserve you?" "You gave me my life back." "No, tesoro. You took it back. I just made sure you had the space to do it." He pulled back, his expression turning serious. "I have something to tell you." Her stomach tightened. "What?" "Derek Thornton was released from prison this morning, early parole." Ice flooded her veins. "How?" "His father's lawyers. They found a technicality." Alessandro's hands tightened on her waist. "He violated parole within 3 hours by leaving the state. He's currently in police custody in Nevada, where he will face additional charges. But Sophia, I need you to know, he will never, ever be a threat to you again. I've made absolutely certain of that." She didn't ask what that meant. She didn't need to. "I trust you," she said simply. Something in his eyes softened. "I love you. I should say it more. I love you, and I'm better with you than I ever was alone." "I love you, too." She reached up, cupping his scarred jaw. "My dangerous, protective, impossible man." "Marry me." She blinked. "What?" He pulled a small box from his pocket, opening it to reveal a ring that took her breath away. "Marry me. Be my wife, my partner in all things. Let me spend the rest of my life keeping you safe and making you happy." "Alessandro, I know it's fast. I know what I am makes this complicated. But Sophia, I have never been more certain of anything." He took her hand. "You make me want to be better. You make me believe that maybe I can build something beautiful instead of just protecting what's dark. Marry me." She looked at the ring, at his face, at the life they'd built together in 6 impossible, wonderful months. She thought about Derek, rotting in a cell in Nevada, About her mother, healthy and happy. About the empire she'd helped expand and the home she'd made with the most dangerous man in the city. "Yes," she said, and watched his eyes light up like dawn breaking. "Yes, I'll marry you." He slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her until she forgot her own name. When he finally pulled back, he pressed his forehead to hers. "No one will ever hurt you again," he promised. "Not while I'm breathing." "I know." And she did, completely. "But Alessandro? I don't need you to protect me from everything. I just need you beside me while I fight my own battles." His smile was pure pride. "That, Tesoro, I can absolutely do." Outside, the city sparkled under the setting sun. Somewhere in it, Derek Thornton was learning that some men faced consequences. Somewhere else, 128 men who'd worked for him, or protected him, or looked the other way, had discovered that crossing Alessandro Moretti's line had permanent repercussions. But in the study, Sophia kissed her dangerous, devoted fiancé and thought only of the future. The restaurants to open, the life to build, the man to love who'd given her back her power, and then stood beside her while she wielded it. She'd walked into the Silver Lotus 6 months ago, with bruises on her neck and terror in her heart. She'd walked out with an empire, a partner, and the absolute certainty that she would never be afraid again. And really, what better ending could there be than that?